శ్రీమాత్రే నమః. ఓం గం గణపతయే నమః. Today I want to discuss the topic aversion and sacrifice. Both are very needed one. Let us discuss after the prayer. व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः. First let us put a question. What is vairagya? Vairagya is called aversion. If the mind is constantly thinking of tea and if it gets pain when you do not get it, it is said that you have got asakti, mean attachment for tea. This asakti leads to bondage. The practice of vairagya, mean dispassion, demands you to renounce this asakti for tea. Mere giving up of taking tea does not constitute the essence of vairagya. Study vairagya Prakarana in Yoga Vasishtha. You will have a comprehensive understanding of the real Swarupa of Vairagya. A clean description of the actual dispassionate mental state of Sri Rama is given. Palatable dishes, refreshing beverages, affectionate father and mother, brothers, dear friends, diamonds, pearls, flowers, sandal, ornaments, soft beds, gardens had no attraction for him. On the contrary, their very sight gave him intense plan. In Vairagya, Brahmacharya is hidden. Vairagya includes celibacy in thought, word and deed. Let us find how many kinds of vairagya we can have. Vairagya means dispassion, indifference, non-attachment, etc. Is of two kinds. Karana vairagya means vairagya on account of some miseries, and Viveka Purva vairagya, vairagya on account of discrimination between real and unreal. The mind of a man who has got the former type of vairagya is simply waiting for a chance to get back the things that were given up. As soon as the first opportunity offers itself, the man gets the downfall and goes back to his former slate. Vishaya does havoc in him with a vengeance and redoubled force from reaction. Then, how can vairagya be drawn? Note how vairagya arises in the mind. The transitory and perishable nature of all things creates a sort of disgust in all minds, and in proportion to the depth and subtlety of nature. This reaction from the world works more or less powerfully in the mind of every individual. An irresistible feeling arises in our mind that the finite can never satisfy the infinite within us, that the changing and perishable cannot satisfy the changeless and deathless of ours. When you are not impressed with the idea of rich living, rich style of living cannot attract you. When you are impressed with the idea that meat and wine are not at all pleasurable, they cannot tempt you. In that case, if you do not get meat and wine or rich living. He will not be agonized at all in your mind. If you have got the Viveka, it will at once tell you that you will get immense pain through her. Then the mind will recede or withdraw from the object, mean woman. There are some sadhana. Sadhana without Vairagya goes in vain, mean waste. How? Let us see. When Vairagya appears in the mind, it opens a gate to divine wisdom. From dissatisfaction comes aspiration. Aspiration comes from abstraction. From abstraction comes the concentration of the mind. From the concentration of the mind comes meditation or contemplation. From a contemplation comes samadhi or self realization. Without dissatisfaction or vairagya, nothing is possible. Just as cultivation in a stony land or saltish earth becomes absolutely futile, mean fruitless. So also yogic practices and atma vichara done without vairagya becomes fruitless. Just as water when leaks into a rat hose, instead of running proper channels in agricultural fields, becomes wasted and does not help the growth of plants, grains, etc. Similarly, the efforts of an aspirant becomes a waste if he has not the virtue called vairagya. He gets no spiritual advancement. Then, intense vairagya is necessary for moksha. How? There must be intense vairagya in the minds of the aspirants throughout the period of their sadhana, practice. More mental adhesion will not do for such things or for success in yoga. There must be intense longing for liberation, a high degree of vairagya plus capacity for sadhana. Then only they will get nirvikalpa, samadhi and moksha. It was only Raja Janaka, father of Sita, and Prahalada, son of Hiranyakashipa, who had a Tivra Vairagya. This kind of Vairagya is necessary for quick realization. It is very difficult to cross the ocean of samsara with a dull type of Vairagya. The crocodile of sense hankering for sense enjoyments and sense objects will catch aspirants by the throat and violently snatching away will drown them halfway. So there are enemies of vairagya, the curse of affection. Delusion proceeds from affection. It is a common observation that a person is distressed if the cat eats his domestic fowl. But when his affection are not touched, for example, if the cat eats a sparrow or a mouse, he expresses no sorrow. You must, therefore, root out affection, which is the cause of vain attachment. The body generates numerous germs which people are anxious to remove, but to one variety they give name children, for which their lives are wasted away. Such is the delusion of the world. At the back of affection and love, there is grief and sorrow. Why? Affection is mixed with sorrow. At the back of pleasure, there is pain. Pain is mixed with pleasure. Man sows the poisonous seed of sorrow under the name of love. From these shoots grow trees of sorrow with innumerable branches which, burning like a heap of covered straw, slowly consume the body. The knot of affection is strengthened by long indulgence. Affection has entwined its threads around the hearts of men. The principal means to get rid of affection is to consider that this is fleeting existence. In this wide world, how many millions of parents, wives, children, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers have passed away? You should consider the society of friends as a momentary flash of lightning, and revolving this often in your mind, enjoy felicity. For this, one should have hope and anticipation. Hope and anticipation are the opposite of vairagya and tyaga. They fatten the mind. To be perfectly hopeless is a very high state for a philosopher. It is a very bad state for worldlings. They always say with contempt, he is a hopeless man. Worldlings and philosophers move towards diametrically opposite poles. Then the question arises, how to develop vairagya? Answer. Those who do not develop the painless vairagya inherent in one's self, and that with great felicity and happiness, are at best but vermins in human shapes. When a bee finds that its feet are stuck in the honey, what happens? It slowly licks its feet several times and then flies away with joy. Even so, extricate yourself from the mind's sticking and clinging to this body and children honey owing to raga and moha through vairagya and meditation, and fly away from this cage of flesh and bone to the source of Brahman or Absolute. Remember constantly the pains of various kinds pertaining to this mundane existence. Moha will vanish, mean disappear, if you repeat the line of chapter 13th Gita several times daily. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanuvartanam dukkha doshanudarshanam. Insight into the pain and evil of birth, old age, and sickness. Always make the mind understand clearly that there is only pain in this world. Reflect often on the instability of this world. This is a first sadhana for aspirants. They can thus develop vairagya. The mind will be weaned from objects. Attraction for sense objects will gradually disappear. Now, sacrifice, tyaga, that is called renunciation. Renunciation brings about moksha. shun the earthly objects as a fire or poison or offal, renounce all desires and cravings. This itself is called moksha. Renunciation of desires brings about annihilation of the mind. Annihilation of the mind brings on the destruction of the mind, destruction of the maya, mean ignorance. Because the mind alone is maya. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Adi Shankara's quote. Maya is enthroned in the imagination of the mind. How cunning she is! A Viveki knows her tricks well. She is awfully afraid of the man of renunciation and Atma Vichara. I mean, self thinking, self analyzing. She bows to him with folded hands. Then, what is true renunciation? The mind is the all in all, and its mastery leads to the renunciation of all. Chitta Tyaga alone constitutes the renunciation of all. True renunciation lies in the abnegation of the mind. It consists in renouncing all kinds of desires and egoism, not world existence. Through such a mental abnegation, you will be able to free yourself from all kinds of pains. Then will come immortality in life or enjoyment of the infinite delight of existence free from ego, founded on oneness of all in Brahman. Sannyasa, a mental state. Sannyasa is a mental state only. It is Jurva or coloring of heart and not of cloth alone. He is a veritable sannyasin who is free from passions and egoism and who possesses all the sattvic qualities, even though he lives with the family in the world. Chudala was a queen yogini, means sannyasini, though she was ruling a kingdom. That sannyasini who lives in the forest but who is full of passion is worse than a householder and a worldly minded fool. Shikidwaja was a worldly man, though he lived in the forest naked for very many years. True renunciation of all passions, desires, egoism, and vasana. If you have stainless mind, a mind free from attachment, egoism, and passion, you are a sannyasin no matter whether you live in a forest or in the bustle of a city, whether you wear white cloth or an orange colored robe, whether you shave the head or keep a long tuft of hair. Shave the mind. Someone asked Guru Nanak, O saint, why have you not shaved your head? You are a sannyasin. Guru Nanak replied, my dear friend, I have shaved my mind. In fact, the mind should be cleanly shaved. Shaving the mind consists in getting rid of all sorts of attachments, passions, and egoism, moha, lust, greed, anger, etc. This is real shaving. External shaving of the head has no meaning so long as there is internal craving, means Trishna, not Krishna. Trishna goes when chanting mantra of Krishna. Vedanta does not want you to renounce the world. It wants you to change your mental attitude and give up this false attitude or false illusionary. What is this? I-ness. I, letter I. And mindness. The snake charmer removes only the two poisonous fangs of the cobra. The snake remains the same. It, he says, raises its hood and shows the teeth. In fact, it is not possible to give up, renounce, or sacrifice if there is attachment. It does everything as before. The snake remains the same. It hisses, raises, and also does every actions. In fact, it does everything as before. The snake charmer has changed his mental attitude towards the snake. He has a feeling now that it has got no poisonous fangs. Even so, you must remove the two poisonous fangs of the mind, ahamta and mamata, I-ness and mindness. Then you can allow the mind to go wherever it likes. Then you will have always samadhi only. You must renounce the Tyaga Bhimana also. The Tyaga Bhimana is very deep rooted. Tyaga Bhimana. You must renounce the idea, I have renounced everything, I am a great Tyagi. This Abhimana of the sadhus is a greater evil than the Abhimana of householders. I am a landlord, I am a Brahmin, I am a king, etc. Vairagya means dispassion. Tyaga means renunciation. If one has raga, attachment for things, one cannot give them away. One cannot sacrifice it. Even if we ask, one will say, ask for anything else, but not this. When there is raga, tyaga is difficult. It is not possible to give up, renounce, or sacrifice if there is attachment. Vairagya is a prerequisite for tyaga. When Kaikeyi asked Sri Rama to renounce the kingdom and go to the forest, he said, is that all? Why do you trouble my father so much for this? If you have just told me, Rama, go to forest, I would have done it. There is Vairagya. Tyaga is easy. Sadhana without Vairagya goes to waste. When Vairagya appears in the mind, it opens a gate to divine wisdom. From dissatisfaction comes aspiration. From aspiration comes abstraction. From abstraction comes the concentration of the mind. From the concentration of the mind comes meditation or contemplation. From contemplation comes samadhi or self-realization. Without dissatisfaction or vairagya, nothing is born. In such a way, everyone has to try most favorably to wipe out all the kinds of attachments. Otherwise, all his efforts will go in vain. In this regard, one has to do intense vairagya, necessary for moksha. There must be intense vairagya in the minds of the aspirants throughout the period of his sadhana practice. Mere mental adhesion will not for do for success in yoga. There must be intense longing for liberation. A high desire of Vairagya plus capacity for sadhana. Then only they will get Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Moksha. Otherwise, it could have been done in a other way. It is not so easy to overcome from these types of ragas, attachments. Vairagya is not an ordinary thing to decide once for all. It comes only by mere practice. Otherwise, it would have taken immeasurable things with us. When a man renounces I-ness and mineness, then he can think of to come out of the world from Maya. Maya covers all the things. Outwardly you can speak about Vairagya well. Therefore there is to say, there are three types of Vairagyas. Prasuti Vairagya at the time of delivery, Shmashana Vairagya at the time of coming to burial ground, Purana Vairagya at the time of attending the discourse on Puranas. When a person hears the essence of Purana, he comes to conclude that how can he overcome from such a type of Vairagya. As long as he was listening, he thinks he has to come out fully from the Vairagya. When a person goes to burial ground for his beloved's death, then he thinks that life is futile, nothing is there to take along with us. But until returning from the burial ground, he feels that it is mere waste in one's life. Whatever the things you find in your mind, it takes you to the kind of Vairagya. At the same time, Prasuti Vairagya. A woman, when he gets pains during the delivery, she decides this is a mere waste of getting children again in future because it's unbearable one. Therefore, she feels a kind of Vairagya. Understand? These three types of Vairagya are mere ways for longing for absolution, moksha. These three are temporary. It is not permanent solution. It never gives a permanent solution to attain moksha easily. Sacrificing means not external things. It should be internally. A person who leaves all his Arishad Vargas, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, such a thing should be renounced. Later, he has to renounce all worldly attachments. When he gives up worldly attachments, gradually he is a successor to attain moksha. Therefore, Lord Krishna says in Gita, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam mokshayishyami. Aham tvam sarva papebhyaha mokshayishyami masuchaha. See? This kind of thinking should be developed inwardly. Otherwise, it's also mere waste. All the things are hidden in the essence of Bhagavad Gita. He who thoroughly reads, understands, ruminates everything and follows internally, not externally. Definitely, he is a person fit for aversion, vairagya, and tyaga, sacrifice. So, these should be adapted each and everyone. Thank you. श्रीयकांताय कल्याणनिधे निधेध्रां श्रीवेङ्कटनिवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मङ्गलं मङ्गलाशासनपरैर्मदाचार्य पुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यैः सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलम्.